How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to have a slightly different video. It's kind of going to be like my 2021 Bronco reveal when I kind of did a video about like my reactions on that. And basically today we're going to be talking about the pre-production concept, I guess you'd call it, 2021 Nissan 400Z. Now, yes, I know that when we first found out about this back in May. It's currently August when I'm putting out this video, so it's not necessarily new news, but I did just kind of want to make a brief video talking about this car. So now, before we actually get into the specifics about the 2021 Nissan 400Z, I did just want to briefly mention that I did start to make merchandise for the channel. If you want to support the channel monetarily, that's pretty much the only way you can do it. I don't have a Patreon or anything like that, and I'm not actually even monetized yet. So basically the links down in the description of this video and all of the other videos that I've published already. And I have merchandise that's like unique to my channel, but I've also designed like kind of cool, I guess, car culture shirts, hoodies, different like designs that I personally would buy myself. So yeah, anyways, without further ado, I'm gonna just dive right into the video. I did just want to briefly shout that out though. Alright guys, so before we talk about the new 2021 400Z, let's talk about the last Z actually in, I guess, the Nissan Z line. Now, it has literally been 11 years since Nissan has came out with a new Z, which is, I mean, that's kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, the 370Z was actually released in the production year of 2009. It hasn't really changed much since then, honestly. I mean, besides a few facelifts here and there, I guess different Nismo editions, different stuff like that. But yeah, this is the 370Z, or aka the Z34. So this has been in production literally from 2009 up until present day. So it's been 11 years. This is the 6th generation in the Nissan Z car line. Now, if we look at this page, this is basically the Wikipedia page going through the entire Z car line. Now, before we go into the 400Z, I'm sure you saw from the first picture that we were on, it's definitely going to resemble the 240 and the 280 a lot more than the 350 and the 370. Now, as you can see, you can kind of pause the video as you want. I'll also leave a link down to the description to all these down in the description, sorry, to all these websites if you want to do your own research. But you kind of see how the first generations of the Zs have kind of like maintained that same like very 70s like sports car shape. Then throughout the 80s, when it became the 300Zs, they kind of got a little bit lower, a little bit more sleek. Some would say, honestly, also like a little bit even more boxy. Now, this is interesting right here because the 4th generation stopped, I want to say, somewhere in the mid to late 90s, possibly. And Nissan actually came out with this 240Z concept in 1999. Now, just looking at this Z concept, I have pictures up right here. This is very similar to what we're seeing now, which is kind of interesting now. Obviously, when you look at this car, late 90s, early 2000s, I guess they were going for like a futuristic look, and we all know that that time in the car community, there was definitely some questionable, to say the least, designs in, you know, I guess different like automobiles. But yeah, the ride height is ridiculous. The wheels look cartoonish. Well, the entire car looks cartoonish, really. But you can see that they were trying to go back to the 280 and the 240 Zs and kind of, I guess, backtrack from the 300s. Now, that being said, it's kind of confusing because it went from, I guess, being like more sleek and kind of smaller and sport car-y to kind of like an egg shape that we saw with the 350Z when they first came out in the early 2000s. And then obviously the 370Z kind of followed suit right after that. So that being said, guys, I did kind of just want to transition to this trailer that Nissan put out. It's kind of like a little teaser trailer to the Z and their 2021 lineup. And as you guys can see here, it did come out in late May of this year, and again, it's currently August. So this is not new news, but basically they go through like their lineup. I think they have a truck, an SUV, a crossover, and then it shows coming up, it shows, boom, it shows the Z right there. And this is a pretty cool image. This kind of shows the back, and then what I do really like the overall shape of this car, even though I don't like the kind of like design and I guess the aesthetics of it. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But I do like the shape. It is very sleek. It does kind of have that retro styling, but the back is very flat. Now I did find a picture of the rear that I'm going to get to in a bit, and the rear is kind of questionable in my opinion, to say the least. But it does look pretty cool. In the front, it does have a kind of wider, like fish-like almost grill, which is something else that I find kind of questionable. But yeah, anyways, this trailer was basically kind of like just teasing their whole 2021 lineup. Now, if we go into the comments, this is actually, because this is something else that's kind of like a rumor. This top comment here was, yeah, so is there any news with it, like S chassis Silvia S16? Nissan actually liked this dude's comment, which is kind of hilarious. But yeah, a lot of people, there's a lot of rumors going around about a new S chassis too, which would be awesome. Now, the one thing that a lot of people are getting very excited about is the fact that Nissan actually did announce that this 400Z is not going to be a collaborative car. So basically, it's not going to be like how the Toyota Supra was, where the 2020 Mark V Toyota Supra was actually a collaboration with BMW. So that is one thing that I guess is definitely a positive for this car. It's basically just going to kind of be, I guess, a Nissan and Infiniti car. Now, that being said, in the front here, again, the styling is really cool. It does have like the bigger brakes that you can kind of see. And again, this is just a concept. This isn't even a production model or anything like that. But on the front grille almost resembles honestly, a R35 GTR. And speaking of R35 GTRs, they came out a year before the 370Zs, and they haven't really changed much since their, I guess, debut or whatever you want to call it. So this is kind of huge for Nissan, because throughout all these years of Nissan not really developing a new sports car, at least here in the United States of America, they still have a very, I guess, respectable like following in the car enthusiast community, as well as, you know, they're still like doing okay with their commuter cars, but Nissan is in trouble. It's not really a secret. And I think is it this article? No, it's this article goes in and talks about how you know, how Nissan has cut Datsun, and they're trying to lower costs, and they're trying to basically just save like a sinking ship. But I mean, honestly, from the pictures, this Z really doesn't look bad. Now, in this article, it actually goes on to say that it is rumored, I don't know if this is actually confirmed yet, but it is rumored that this is going to have the same power plant, the same drivetrain as the 2020 Infiniti Q60s. Now, those cars came with a twin-turbo V6 engine, and at least for the 2020 model, the 3-liter twin-turbo V6 engine that was in these Infinitis actually makes an even 300 brake horsepower at 6,400 RPMs and 295 foot-pounds of torque at 1,600 RPMs. Now, that being said, that is actually the base model, which is pretty, you know, very respectable numbers, honestly. But the Red Sport, the 2020 Infiniti Q60 Red Sport, which is like, I guess, the highest trim, actually came with the same exact engine, same transmission, which I'll actually get to in a bit. But it actually came with 400 horsepower at 6,400 RPMs and 350 foot-pounds of torque. Again, it is not confirmed that this engine or drivetrain is going to be used, but these engines are very capable of making good power while also being very reliable. Now, again, no one really knows what trim levels are going to be offered with this 2021 Nissan 400Z, but one can only assume that if Nissan is truly going to be coming out with another Z car, then it's probably going to be offered in a Nismo variant. Now, who knows what those Nismo cars are going to make if they are going to truly go with this Infiniti power plant. Now, one thing that is questionable about the Infiniti power plant is that these cars are actually, they come with all-wheel drive as well as rear-wheel drive. Now that's fine. A lot of people would love to see this car front engine, rear wheel drive. Obviously, if it has the Infinity engine, it's going to be twin turbo, so it's not going to be naturally aspirated. But I mean, that's still good. But for the most part, I feel like most car enthusiasts want front engine, rear wheel drive, limited slip differential. I hope I feel like that's a detail that won't be missed by Nissan if they do come out with this car. But I really hope that these cars do have a limited slip differential in it. And obviously, people are just craving, car enthusiasts are craving a new sports car with a manual transmission, especially after the 2020 production year, I guess, coming out. The 2020 Corvette not offered in a manual, the 2020 Supra not offered in a manual, the 2020 GT500 not offered in the manual, the Hellcats already, we all know they're not manuals. So I mean, this is kind of like the tipping point where a lot of people are really getting concerned where, like, are we truly going to see, like, the death of manuals in, like, the next decade? Now, I did kind of open up this picture right here. This rear end, like, going back to the styling of the car, I don't know. It's very questionable. I mean, I'm sure it's going to draw some debates. Well, I'm sure the entire design of the car is going to draw a lot of debates. But I mean, looking at those taillights, they look like the taillights off of or at least resemble a 300Z. So yeah, I just pulled up a picture. Now this is kind of, I guess, a later generation 300Z. But I mean, look at that, and then look at that. Obviously, this car is older. It's a little bit more boxy. They're kind of trying to go for, again, the 240, 280 retro styling, where the car is kind of like curved all the way up. But in the back, it does have that kind of like boxy rear end that the 300Zs had. Now, in my own personal opinion, these Zs aren't my favorite, but I really like the styling of them. And on picture, they could look outdated to some people. They don't look as good as they do in person, in my opinion, because I've seen these at car shows. They're super low slung. They're really cool looking, honestly, and they are pretty cheap nowadays. So yeah, if Nissan went and kind of like incorporated a 300Z rear end, I do think that does look pretty cool. The one thing I personally don't like are these body lines right here, like how it just cuts, like very sharp. I mean, I don't know. Some people might like it. Some people, might not like it. But my personal opinion, I think this this generation Z styling was pretty cool. So that is definitely something I would like to see them incorporate in this new 400Z. Now, going back to, I guess, the power numbers and the current horsepower war that we're in, people would love to see this car make north of 400 horsepower. I mean, on this body, it's probably going to be like 3,300, probably a 3,200 to 3,400 pounds car, if that. So if Nissan can really put in a drivetrain that's pushing out, north of 400 horsepower, I guess the Nismo edition could be close to 500 horsepower, people would go crazy over this, especially if it's a manual, front engine, rear wheel drive, limited slip differential, all the things that kind of, I guess, maintain the heritage of this Z. Now, if it only comes out in an automatic, they overprice it like hell, like how Toyota did with the Supra, and I mean, even the Corvette too. I mean, Corvette's a great price. The 2020 Corvette's, the C8 Corvette I'm talking about, it's a great price for what it is, but again, no one's paying the MSRP. And that being said, I believe it is, yeah, it's this article. It actually says there's an estimated $45,000 MSRP for this car. And I'm assuming that's going to be the base, like that's going to be the base model. So like, what are we going to look at for a Nismo 400Z? Are we going to look like in like the $50,000 range, like in the 50s? Because honestly, for that amount of money, you can buy a used R35 GTR, and everybody knows that they are proven supercar killers. So why would you try to waste your time with a new car that's not really proven? Now, one other thing that people are going to be watching very closely with this new 400Z, and it's another topic that the 350 and the 370 faced a lot of criticism for, is this interior. Again, if you've watched any of my reviews before, I really don't care much about the interior, and personally I think, honestly, if Nissan's going for this like retro 240 280 styling, they should kind of have like a more simplistic but also modern interior. Not that much features. I mean, that's my own opinion, but a lot of people say that the 370 and the 350Z's interior is outdated. Now, you know, that being said, I do kind of agree with them. These three, by the way, these three gauges up here, completely pointless. I think the one is like volts, the other one is oh, this one is like literally a time, like it's a clock. It's a clock, and it's meant to look like, I guess, some like sort of performance gauge, which is just so stupid. And that is one thing that I don't really like about the 350s and the 370s. I mean, if you're gonna put these three things here, like, first of all, the car's not turboed for 350s and 370s. It's the naturally aspirated VQ platform. So you're not gonna have a boost gauge or anything like that, but at least put like some sort of like temp gauge. I mean, something more useful than a damn clock in this third port here. So yeah, that's definitely one thing that's Z's definitely do get ripped on a lot. If you haven't watched it already, I did do a review on a 2003 350Z. Personally, I love the cars. I love Z's. I think they're a great platform. Again, front engine, rear wheel drive. I know the 350s and the 370s, they have the limited slip differential. Sorry. And honestly, the 2003 350 that I actually drove was an automatic, which, I mean, you can definitely tell the transmission was dated, but I mean, still, even as an automatic, they were fun. But that being said, a lot of people really, really wish that a Nissan is going to, if they even come out with this car, or when they do, please just make it available in a manual, and please don't make it overpriced, because honestly, if we're looking at a $45,000 MSRP for a base Model Z, I mean, I don't know. And that really doesn't give the car enthusiast community much financial room to go ahead and modify these things. Now, that being said, you know, I am very excited about this. I hope it's not going to be a disappointment. And even if, you know, we think it's a disappointment, we could be wrong, because even though the new Supra gets ripped on a lot, it's still a fantastic car. The new GT500s are incredible cars, even though they're six-figure Mustangs. And the C8 Corvette is also, I mean, just astounding. So I really, really hope this car lives up to expectations. But right now, I mean, the bar's pretty low. Anything new that's just offered in a manual, the car community would love and, you know, appreciate. But yeah, I just really hope this is offered in a manual. I hope it's not overpriced, and I hope it's a driver's car. I hope it maintains the, I guess, Z-line heritage. I hope it's a driver's car. Again, front engine, rear wheel drive. If it's all wheel drive, that would be pretty cool too. But personally, I think it would be better, and it would suit the character of the Z badge a lot more if it was rear wheel drive, limited slip differential, and please put a manual, put a stick in there. Don't just put, you know, park, reverse, neutral, drive in there. And paddle shifters don't count. I think I said this before, but that's one thing with this Q60 drivetrain that it's raising some red flags, because these cars are not offered in manuals. So if they're not offered in manuals, and Nissan's going to throw those drivetrains in this car, then it's highly likely that these aren't going to be offered in manuals either, which would be very disappointing. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative. I know there's a lot more videos out there of the 400Z. So thank you guys for choosing to watch my video. And if you stuck to the end, definitely be sure to leave a like on the video. It helps out my channel a lot. And consider subscribing if you haven't already, for car reviews, DIY videos, car show vlogs, and videos like this, kind of going over news or new upcoming models. And also, guys, don't forget to comment down below if I missed anything, if I could have done anything better. Constructive criticism does help me make better videos for you guys, so I definitely appreciate any feedback that you can give me down in the comments below. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until the next one, see ya.